I was just reading some of the comments from the past couple of live streams and podcasts, and I get this in the comment section every once in a while. All right, we get it, but it's all I'm so tired of politics. I'm tired of hearing politics. Me too. This is why I try to approach it from a different angle. Listen, there's so much going on in information these days and in news, you can't avoid it. Anybody that talks about current events is going to talk about that. But what I try to do is talk about what we can gather from it. This is why I focus on the main characters, the usual suspects in the news, right? What are they saying? Once you know the players, you can understand what's going on. Once you understand what they're saying, you can see through all the propaganda and all the crap. And I'm telling you, last night, even though this is probably for anybody that does news talk radio or a live stream or talks about current events or anything going on in society, you can't get anything more political than a State of the Union address because of the reaction the next day, how it went, the protests going on. But that thing last night was way more than politics. Way, way more. Because it revealed so much. It was one of the most consequential. I know it sounds like I'm being pro-Trump here. I know it sounds like I'm like campaigning for him. I'm telling you, especially the reaction and the failed protest to it and how the Democrats clowned themselves. That was one of the most consequential State of the Union addresses in American history. I mean that. And it'll prove to be the case. Because let me tell you something. The Democrats lost so much support last night because of their failed reaction. What happened to them? I know you're going to think that I'm just pro one side all the time or this or that. No, not really. If you have, it's better for all of us if you have two strong parties. It really is, because then they fight each other out and you hash it out and you get to a better resolution. What you have right now in the Democrat Party are such absolute, and this is the best description I've seen. Somebody said this to me yesterday. They're theater kids. They're over-emotional, clueless theater children. Now, I say that as somebody with two theater kids. But not like that. They're not in politics. But you know what I mean. Over-emotional, the play acting, the ridiculous emotional reaction, hysterical reaction to everything. And it did them such a disservice last night. It was unbelievable. So mostly what I'm talking about today is how not to protest something. And what happened to the Democrats who perfected the art of protesting something, right? Go back to the hippies in the 60s, even the 70s or 80s or 90s. Where are they? What happened? They used to protest, mostly the right way. They used to get things done. Civil disobedience, it's okay. It's part of American culture. It's okay. This crap last night and everything leading up to it, and that's why I say it was consequential, is because everything that they've been trying to pull for the last 10, 15 years, it came to a head last night in a spectacular fail. So the takeaway isn't all politics. Believe it or not, the takeaway today from that speech last night and the failed protest about it is about failed messaging. How not to protest something. It was unbelievable. And we'll get to that, believe me. Mostly focusing on that. And we'll also talk about, Justin Trudeau trying to talk tough, but there's a lot to learn here on this, and it was amazing. All right. First and foremost, though, thanks for finding Wicked Radio. It's not going to be all politics. We'll still get some laughs in here. Thanks for finding the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those, your favorite podcast platforms. You can find those, too. And welcome to you audio listeners. Every single day, we're live doing this thing with the red light on, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Join us on all of these platforms. All right, let's get to it. So the main theme last night from President Trump, the State of the Union address, the main theme was America's back. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time highlighting, because you pretty much heard already what the highlights were. He touted the economy, ending DEI, stopping the wokeism, talked about all the accomplishments and all these different things. This was the main theme.
And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
So it was very, very patriotic, obviously, as you can imagine. Now, leading up to this, and this is an important part of the story, leading up to this were the protests and what's happening here. There were walkouts. We'll talk about the toss-out with Al Green, not the great soul singer, the clown who looks like a bum in Congress with a cane. That guy was tossed out. The pink suit pant ladies were last night. We had that as well. You had the protest above it, and all of it failed. And to take myself out of the equation here, and we should all really do this. I started doing this a couple of years ago back in radio days to try to be as objective as I possibly could when I see this kind of stuff. Because I'm just pro-America. Whoever's better for America, That's who I'm proud of. I am America first, that's for sure. But to try to be objective, I do something what I call the alien test. All right? It's not about aliens. It's just about you pretending that you just landed on this planet. And this is the first thing you ever saw. Like you landed, you found media, and you looked at this State of the Union address with not knowing what Democrats are, not knowing what Republicans are, not even knowing what the country is, not even knowing who the president is. But you just observe this with absolutely clean eyeballs, right? Totally unbiased. This would be your takeaway if you were an alien, you were watching this. Huh. Those humans in the pink outfits, they seem to be against kids. They seem to be pro-war, and they won't stand for anything, really. That's what it seems to be, is I'm new to this planet. That would be your impression. And when they don't like something, they make a lot of noise and they leave. Is that correct? If they don't... I would also get this. I would also get this sense if I was an alien watching this for the first time, not knowing what any of these parties are. That those folks over there, they don't seem to want any solutions. That's as objective as I could possibly be looking at what this was last night. And that's why it failed so badly. How did it fail? Check this out. I saw this 15 minutes before we went live. 15 minutes this was published. And it's the 100% truth. Views of Trump's speech, because they always have the snap polls the next night, right? Views of Trump's speech among speech watchers. 76% approve, 23% disapprove. What? Well, first thing I always do when I see one of these things is I see who put together the poll. Well, this has got to be from, sometimes Rasmussen leans a little bit right. It's not from Fox. It's not from Newsmax or anybody else or Right Side Broadcasting. 76% approve according to CBS News YouGov poll. What? Yeah. There's your proof. This was a massive, massive fail for the Democrats last night. Massive. And again, there were a lot of people who... think of how many people, right? Not just kids, just regular people. They aren't into this crap, but they want to see what's going on. Like our alien test, they watched this for the first time last night. What's your impression of Democrats? You never watched any of these things. What's your impression of them? They're children. They're children with zero solutions and just anger and protest, and they act like children. That would be your takeaway. And that's America's... They didn't gain many votes at all, but I guarantee you they lost a lot. They lost a lot of support last night. I will guarantee it. Example number one, theater kids protesting and storming out. Well, it's not exactly true, is it? Congressman Al Green got tossed out. He's not the great soul singer Al Green. He's the guy with the cane and the bum, and he shows up in Congress and he's waving his cane at people and he's yelling, he's interrupting the president, like a child would. Well, that didn't end too well for him. How'd that work out?
Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
And then it was about that time, J.D. Vance stood up, and I don't know if you caught this. There's a still shot of him. He did the thumb like an umpire, "You're out" kind of thing. How great would that have been if he stood up and he shouted right next to Mike Johnson, "You're out," like tossing somebody off a ball game. That was great. And by the way, that was Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That was his golden moment. That guy was salivating to do this. You know it. He loves it. He's been trying, image-wise, to project this tough guy image. Oh, there you go. So Mike Johnson was happy. He could actually stand up and do something. He was happy about that. There's a first example there. And then you have this. And I'll go back to our little alien test. You don't know anything about these people. Nothing about them. But you had this moment. And then all of the cameras flashed to all of the Democrats as they wouldn't even stand for little DJ Daniel. Now, he was the kid, 13-year-old kid, who has beaten brain cancer. He's a cancer survivor. I think he had something like 10 or 11 surgeries, but they made him an honorary police officer in Texas. And the special moment last night where they made him an honorary member of the Secret Service. It was a beautiful moment. President Trump pointed him out. But again, it's the reaction that's the story here. But here's how it all went down.
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
It was cool. They started chanting his name, but then his dad, who was there with him, held him up a couple of different times, and I'm sure you saw it, or you'll at least see the video. And that was cool, and went on, and they started chanting his name. That was awesome. And then Trump makes the announcement that the head of the Secret Service comes over, and he gave him a Secret Service badge to make him an honorary member of that, and the kid was blown away, and it was a beautiful moment. And, you know, tears were shed in the chamber, except on the other side with the pink pantsuit ladies and all of the Democrats who couldn't even stand for that. Now, here's what I mean about the difference, what happened to Democrats. Because back in the day, when I first started watching these things, or at least paying attention to it, you would always see, it's always a ceremonial thing, you know, the president that you support says something and you clap and you stand and it's ridiculous and it takes a long time. And the other ones usually sit, unless it's something that's unifying for the nation. Because unless I'm wrong, and unless I have amnesia on how this used to go, not too long ago, it used to be that a moment like that would happen where you honor a kid who's now an honorary member of the Secret Service. Everybody would stand and at least acknowledge the kid for a nice, beautiful moment. Not these folks. Not these folks. Not what's over there on the other side. They couldn't even stand for this kid that had brain cancer and is now an honorary member of the Secret Service. They couldn't even do that. This is what I mean and how they absolutely, completely clowned themselves. Embarrassing fashion. Before that even happened, they couldn't even stand, they couldn't even acknowledge or clap or appreciate Laken Riley's family. Her mom and her sister were there last night, honored as President talked about passing the Laken Riley Act. You know Laken Riley's story, this 20-year-old college student at UGA in Georgia who was, well, you know what happened. She was killed by a criminal illegal alien who had many crimes against him before. Well, the Laken Riley Act makes sure that they're detained despite sanctuary city status. They couldn't honor. Her family is there. They lost her daughter. They couldn't even acknowledge that. You don't even have to stand. Just look over to where they are in the chamber and at least, you know, acknowledge or not look at. They looked at their phones, at that sourpuss look on their faces. Again, clowning themselves like idiots, like immature little children. And this is what's in Congress right now. Another clowning moment. They lost a lot of support. They just did. Didn't gain a lot, but they lost a ton. And there's no doubt about it on this when you act like that. But it wasn't even what happened in the moments during the speech last night, all televised, what we all saw. It wasn't even then. It was leading up to it. And this was absolutely incredible. And I know you saw this. It is that old expression. A lot of people were reposting this yesterday about headlines and propaganda. You and I talk about this all the time because it's all about messaging. Read the messaging and the people, you know what the hell's going on in this world, right? When all the headlines are the same, it's not news, it's propaganda. Well, in the video age and the digital age, when all of the politicians say the exact same thing, and I mean literally the exact same thing, that's not a message. That's pure propaganda. And here's what happened. It started off with people who were amazed. Chucky Schumer and Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren all said the exact same thing on a video message. The exact same thing. And speaking of Pocahontas, by the way, see her last night cheering for more Ukraine aid? Looking like, again, back to our alien test. If you were an alien, you're sitting there thinking, that female human is in favor of more war. Write that down for our notes and take that back to our home planet. Yeah, that was her. But before that, she created a video along with 30 other Democrats, and they all said the exact same thing. I don't mean different wording here and there, same messaging. I mean the exact same thing. Now, they first noticed it with Chucky Schumer and Elizabeth Warren saying the same thing, and they played the video side by side, and it is the exact same thing. I have that for you. I won't play the other 29, 30 senators saying the exact same thing. It's like this audio cacophony, which will just drive you crazy. This is bad enough, but it still proves the point. Here they are.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of groceries, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials.
Make it stop. Now, that's bad enough. Now, multiply that by all the other politicians saying the exact same thing. We've all known. I mean, any adult in the world knows that they send out the talking points and they tell them what to do. But they used to be at least a little more creative about it. You know, they used to, like, what happened? Did U.S. aid dry up and they lost all their funding to find the creative propagandist writers? Is that what happened? They don't even try to hide it anymore. Elon said on X yesterday, boy, they didn't even reach for a thesaurus to try to find some different words to vary it up a little bit. The exact same video and the exact same thing. And they just looked like absolute fools. Who is this going to fool? Everybody knows. The mashup of all of them talking over each other at once, saying the exact same speech, the exact same script, it got millions of views. Everybody can see through it now. And they did. And by the way, they were holding it up like they have these little things like most kids on TikTok. I have one too. It's like a little lavalier mic right here. You know, and they'll hold it up, you know, as they're doing street videos or whatever. But that's TikTok users that, you know, they do it. And they were all doing that. So apparently the creator and the propagandist writer of the video went from office to office to office and handed him a little lavalier mic and had him say the exact same thing. What a clown show. Absolute foolish. How not to protest something. And here's the amazing thing. They'll see the polls like the CBS poll we just showed you, and they'll see the reaction to it, and they'll see the lack of support they have in their home districts. And you know what? They still won't get it today. They're still not going to get it. And I'll say it again. It's good for all of us if we have two strong parties trying to find a solution to the country. We don't have that now. Absolutely not. This is why I say, and you may have laughed at first when I said it in the introduction, that was the most consequential State of the Union addresses in American history. Not because of the speech, even though I thought it was pretty good, because he worked in stories to it and he was entertaining. Trump's great live. Not because of that. It's because of the foolish, clownish reaction of those political theater kids that were in there and the American public's reaction to it. Very consequential. But it's not just American politicians who are looking like fools yesterday. Let's go north of the border. A Democrat of a different sort, I'd say, Justin Trudeau. Now, to be fair, he had to talk tough. He had to do something because our trade tariffs went into effect. So he's got to do something, right? And he's got to talk tough. This is another takeaway. How not to protest. But if you're not a tough guy, don't try to talk tough. Like Trump can get away with that. Somebody like even Ted Cruz or, you know, some high-profile politician, DeSantis, somebody, they can talk tough and get away with it. Not Justin Fancy Pants from Canada. Tell me if this sounds authentic.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Yeah, we're going to fight back. I don't know how that was received in Canada. I'm not too hip on what they see as things, but yeah, I don't know. And by the way, after all the tough talk, reportedly, according to some White House sources, Canada was on the phone all day long trying to make things better and try to get rid of the tariffs on us. So I don't think it was such a dumb thing to do anyway, because we've been getting screwed for too long. But anyway, that's the reaction. The takeaway, how not to protest. Don't act like a child if you're trying to protest against something and push back on something, because it'll fail miserably. That's the takeaway from last night. And as always, don't take any crap from anybody. At least you're Justin Trudeau, and you should probably take crap from us because you're not really a tough guy. But anyway, thanks for finding Wicked Radio. I'm out of material. That's enough. See, it wasn't all politics. It was politics, but not really. It was the takeaway, what it means. Anyway, I'm out of words, too. Thanks for finding me in the audio podcast, wherever you get those. Favorite podcast platform, wherever. Pick one. And it usually posts about 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we're always live here on X and YouTube and Facebook as well. And with that said, it's midweek already. We're rolling right through, getting closer and closer to the weekend. Have a wicked awesome Wednesday. Who knows what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.